part of the Earglue Media family of podcasts.
You're listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Albert and Jonesy in breaking down the latest news, trailers, movies, and of course, your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cantina Cast. My name is Albert Padilla, and this is episode 311. Rise of Skywalker.
The greatest band of all time.
The Rise of,
it totally is.
The Rise of Skywalker listener questions. So before we came on the air,
you were totally singing.
We were talking about 311, and I don't know why, but we put on. I was getting 311 confused with Informer, and I don't know why. Yeah, there's probably some link there.
How they're not even like 311 was like 3 or 4 years after that.
Okay, maybe fine, you win. But so I went to the video and looked at 311 down, and then we started looking at the lyrics, and we got into Kid Chameleon for the NES, and
that was that was Sega, by the way. That wasn't NES.
Sorry.
Just want to clarify.
Sure. Thank you.
You know, because I was a Sega fanboy back in the day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Sorry for the rocky start.
No, that wasn't rocky. I mean, you don't like 311, which is a crime in and of itself.
It's not.
It totally is.
All right, so this is not your typical show, right? We're obviously off to a bad start here. That's Mike, if you're not you haven't picked up already. So welcome, Mike.
Nobody cares about me. Listen. One thing they do care about is, like last week, I'd mentioned my whole pinball quest.
Yeah. How's it going?
So now I nailed it down to, I think, 2 pinball tables, like actual physical machines that I may purchase at some point this year.
These are full-size pinball machines.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It's either Deadpool or Jurassic Park. I haven't decided. I was going to go Star Wars, but I got enough Star Wars in my life. I think Jurassic Park may be the way that I go. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, I just figured I'd update.
You have enough Star Wars.
One person.
I don't even know you anymore, Mike Rondo.
Well, it's true. I got Star Wars all over, out my kazoo here. I mean, it's everywhere.
All right.
Anyway.
Well,
let's get on with the show.
Let's get on with the show. We've got a show to do here. So we're going to start with our news. We got a couple of things we want to talk about in news, and then we'll jump right into our questions and hopefully some good answers for you guys. So news-wise, unfortunately, start off on a son of a sad note. So Alan Harris passed away. So for those of you who are not aware, Alan Harris is the gentleman that played Bosk in The Empire Strikes Back. And I don't know if he actually did anything else. Did he ever play any other characters?
Off the top of my head, I do not.
Because sometimes they come and go and play like another background character or whatever, right? But
yeah, I think so. He probably was an extra in something else. Like they usually, especially back then,
right.
Like you played, like if you were doing, like usually they had stuntmen doing these kind of roles, right? Or like some crew member that the sound guy, like he wasn't doing something, and he's like, all right,
put this on.
Up and exactly.
Stand there, look menacing.
Yeah. So, maybe the guy in the pink shorts was doing something that day. Like he dressed up as IG-88 or something. I don't know. But nobody knows what I was referencing there. Well, a few of you might. But I don't recall anything. The reason it's kind of sad is because, as we mentioned this before, Albert, a while back, maybe 2 years ago or something, where someone passed away. It wasn't Carrie or anything like that. It was after that. But someone had passed away, and we'd said to ourselves, it's getting to that point where the actors and people we looked up to and admired in the original trilogy and maybe even the prequel trilogy are no longer going to be with us. Like we're all getting up in age now, and it's kind of scary because you think like this will go on forever and it'll last forever, and then all of a sudden something like this hits you and you're like, oh wow, no, it's not. And but thankfully, in one aspect, he is going to live on forever with Star Wars being boss.
Oh
right?
Yeah, for sure.
So there's that. So, that's more than I got. I got this Cantina Cast, but, who's going to listen to this in 10 years? Nobody. But anyway.
Yeah, no, so he actually did do, like he's known for playing a stormtrooper in all 3 of the original movies. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Assume that would be the case.
Yeah. And then he also did, so the guy that says, prepare for a ground assault when he's the rebel on Hoth, he says that line. So he did play that.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like he did. So we were right. He didn't play just this one character. Now, he's known for Bosk, right?
Yeah.
But he played a character in Cloud City, too, it
yeah.
looks like.
Oh, good.
So, anyways, so yeah, you're right. I mean, this is unfortunately this is going to be more and more common, especially you look at Hamill and Billy D. Williams and Harrison Ford and
Jeremy Bulloch.
I mean, these guys
who played multiple roles in Star Wars. He was, I think, 3 times Boba Fett, the Imperial officer on Cloud City, and then you got the Rebel guy in the beginning there of A New Hope. So that's 3 roles I can think of him. He probably played more than that, but anyway.
All right. Well, let's talk about the Thrawn novel.
Yeah.
So that got pushed back.
Why? Because of Blue Pages? Is that the rumor?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, it's funny because if you haven't heard, they've pushed this now back. I think it was originally supposed to come out like in, I don't know, May. Was it May?
May,
right?
Yes.
And they push it now to the fall, sometime October.
Yeah. Yes.
And
the best month of all. But
this is Thrawn Ascendancy, Chaos Rising. But then the way the tweet read was like, but get this, you guys are getting Blue Pages, which I thought is kind of neat. I mean, it is different, but I don't know if that really makes up for the fact that we've got to wait.
I don't know if
additional 5 months.
Why would I want that? I don't think that would make my reading experience better.
You don't read. You listen to audiobooks.
I read occasionally, Albert, and just because it's green eggs and ham,
right? Yeah,
and Chewie and the Porgs,
Prince Large. That you still read?
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
No,
in Clifford the Red Dog, I do read. However, I will say this. Now, I'm not a big fan of the black and white pages myself because my eyes are old. I'd rather if it'd be black and white, maybe, like the black page, like the page is black and the letters are
contrast.
White. That would work better for me. Yeah. Yeah. Dark mode, so to speak. But Blue Pages with black writing, unless it's white. Maybe it's white. Would that make much more sense, right? Like that would jump out probably.
I'm reading this black. Is it blue? All the pages are completely blue, or is it just the outer part of it, like the what do they call that? The
trim.
Yeah, like the trim.
Border.
The border, whatever that is.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
One thing is scheduling move. Yeah, this is the kind of.
I'll be listening to the audiobook anyway.
That's although what I said.
I can't get through the Thrawn novels on the audiobook. I can't. It's hard. It's really hard.
It's just blue edges.
Well, that's no. All right. Well, that can't be the reason for the delay.
No, that's not the reason for the delay. I don't know what
I mean,
and this is.
They didn't say it was anything to do with the book itself, like the story.
Yeah, they give us no details on this.
Well, because there's probably some restructuring going on around Lucasfilm. I don't know. The Star Wars show now and this, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just speculating. But anyway, I don't want to cause rumors,
Yeah. Well, you are the quintessential Star Wars cynic, if you will.
No, there's worse than me.
Yeah, there are very worse people than you.
Yeah, there's
not
far
many,
worse than me.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, but there's a few. Anyway.
Okay, last thing. What is this?
Let's talk about the hot garbage.
So, hot garbage. So this is the leaked footage of Star Wars Underground. Now, I had no idea this came out. You put this in the show notes, and I thought you were joking at first. I couldn't even remember what Star Wars Underground was until you reminded me.
Was it Underworld or Underground? I can't remember.
Underground. I'm probably saying Underworld.
Okay, well, we'll go with that. Well, it's the show that wasn't
Star Wars Underworld is what it was called.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
So for those of you who were not up to par back in 2008 and what was going on here, there was originally going to be this is prior to Disney, obviously. They were going to do this potential TV series called Star Wars Underworld. There was a video game, I think, that was going to be linked to it all. It was supposed to be this big grand thing, almost the likes of what we had with like Shadows of the Empire, right? Where they were kind of tackling this on different media fronts.
Yeah.
And all of this got scrapped. And then the game was kind of still out there. Maybe it was going to come out, maybe it wasn't. And then that got canned. And then next thing you know, Disney came in, and we've never heard anything since for it. Well, I don't know who released all this or why. Although Mike has more conspiracy theories.
I do. Let's put the tinfoil hat on. It's because they want you to distract you from that Obi-Wan Kenobi gibberish.
Maybe.
But
anyway. They've released this test footage. And so it's like 5 or 6 minutes long.
Awful. It's I can see why they canceled it.
Well,
or didn't want to go on with it.
This is test footage, though. This means like
I know
this is
it's
like
not,
no director. The writer is probably the same dude that like was in charge of the special effects, and this is just to say, hey, what's it going to look like? Right? These aren't even the real actors.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's like a live storyboard, is what
pretty
it
much.
is. Kind of.
And it plays. It is pretty bad. Like this is unwatchable. I wouldn't watch it.
Like they hit all the cues, right? With like what the stormtroopers are saying.
Sounds like a drill.
The Wilhelm scream. Yeah. Well, that was good, but most of it was just. I would like them to do something like this, though. I mean, we kind of got it with The Mandalorian, right? A little bit gritty or whatever, but I would like to see something more adult-like and kind of gritty, if you will.
Yeah.
Because that's what he was looking for, right? He was looking for something HBO-worthy, and then that just fell through or whatever. So
yeah, I mean, it was supposed to be something on, I mean, and we don't know because all we read was, press releases, or not press releases, but just leaks and stuff at the time. But from what I recall, he was going for something grittier for sure, maybe something a little bit edgier, something more geared towards the generations that had grown up with the prequels now that were, and coming into their older ages or, maturing, and they want to kind of keep up with things. So, and this reminds me of something like a Blade Runner, which is, I think, I don't know if they were kind of going for that or not, but I mean, we think about the underworld and think about all level 1313 from what we've seen in the Clone Wars. All that's really dark. It is kind of the shadow world of Star Wars. So, it looked cool.
Let me ask you this, though. If they do this, now I have to imagine Disney, knowing that there's a section of fandom that's older, us, basically, you and me, Jonesy, and so forth, Becca as well. We're all older. We'd like to see something gritty and more mature. I hope Disney does that. And I'm thinking to myself, now, what would you like to see if that was the case? I'm thinking maybe like Darth Maul in the Crimson Dawn there. Not Crimson Dawn. What the hell is the name of it? I can't think of it now.
Death Watch?
And that, not Death Watch. His whole thing in Solo. The, what the hell is the syndicate that he has, the crime syndicate that he has. Like, that whole thing might be interesting to explore. That whole, because that could be dark and gritty, especially if you got Maul involved, right? Like that, you could kind of just go.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know. That's just my thinking. I don't know. But
yeah,
anyway.
I mean, it's Crimson Dawn.
Yeah, thank you. That's what it was. I don't know why I'm thinking the other. But
yeah, no. I'd be down for it. I mean, here's the thing. I don't remember if it was. I don't think it was us that had this conversation. I remember getting into conversation with someone one time about whether or not Disney would ever go into an R rating, and I don't think they would. I still don't truly believe they would. I like the idea. I don't think they ever have the guts to do it.
Well, if they bring Deadpool in the mix, there's a possibility.
But I mean, you can go into a rated R and not do like the language, because there is no language in Star Wars. I mean, that's
but that's what I mean. In Star Wars, though, you can make up your own swears, and kids would be oblivious to it.
But it wouldn't. But that
like Carabas, right? You know?
That guy's got a potty mouth on him for all we know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But but you don't. But maybe you could probably cross the line in terms of the violence.
Well, the nudity. Would you show it? Would you?
I don't think that. I don't know. I don't think it belongs in Star Wars.
I mean, would you go? I mean, I'm not saying go Game of Thrones here, where it's or The Witcher. Yeah, which I love that show. Just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, no, I don't think they would do that. I mean, maybe they brush up against it.
I mean, you could kind of flirt with it and get close to it. But you at least PG-13ish, maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of that type of thing. Maybe rated R-ish.
Right.
But nothing further than
I think they could. I think they could. I think there is enough Star Wars people now, and the fandoms are multi-generational now, that you probably could do it, still have a good base to, solicit that too, and have a good acceptance and viewership.
Exactly. Like you got so many facets of the fandom, right? Like you got kids, obviously my daughter and your kids, they like Resistance or whatever. Then you got the prequel trilogy, and then you get the older fans like us. Like that would fit for us. Like, you know what I mean? And then later on when they get older, they could jump into that. So I hope they keep it on the table, or put it on the table and kind of maybe think about it. Well, no, we'll see. But
so were you disappointed? I don't know. We didn't talk about this, I guess, maybe. But were you disappointed with The Mandalorian and not being gritty enough? Because it does seem like there are moments where he is. I'm not saying he's not. And it's not. Yeah. There are moments where it's a little bit darker, but I guess I was expecting more.
It's funny because it kind of reminds me of the Clone Wars, where it was trying to figure out where it was going to. And the Clone Wars always had this problem. It didn't know if it wanted to be a kid show, an adult show, or somewhere in between. Mm-hmm. And I think the first year of The Mandalorian, it was kind of doing that. But it settled more on the PG version, and it got into a little PG-13-ish. but nothing over the top. I personally would have liked something darker, but I get what they're trying to do. I mean, season 1, we'll see where they go from there. I think they could go to get a little bit grittier. I hope they do. We'll see.
All right.
Were you disappointed?
No, I was fine with that.
Right.
I got my Baby Yoda. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
And that life size, the child
doll
comes out. Yeah, I'm already picking out Christmas jammies and different outfits for it.
Oh my God!
Can't wait.
Jeez,
it's gonna be awesome.
Ugh.
All right, let's get started with our
let's get on with this
main show.
Oh God.
And
this is our worst show ever.
Well, if you've listened this far, you should have known this was coming, given how we started the show. So,
that's true.
Here we go. 18 minutes in. Let's talk about or what do we? 15 minutes in. Whatever. Let's talk about the questions that we got from you guys. So, for those of you that are new to the show and still listening,
this first one's tough though.
We start with our Patreon questions first, and we'll run through all those, and then we try to cut this to about an hour because we've got so many questions, to be honest. So once we get through all the Patreon stuff, we'll go through the Discord and social media and that sort of thing. But we'll probably cut it at an hour. If we don't get to your question tonight, then we'll table it and come back to it. Yeah. So no hard feelings. Sorry, guys. Mike's old. He's got to get to bed. All right. First question.
That is,
out of the gate.
You're
it's a
older
doozy.
than me, man.
This is from Utini. Utini says, "What is your favorite line in the Rise of Skywalker? Bonus points for favorite line of the saga." And he's not going to hold us to if we can't answer that second one, because that is quite a doozy of a question. But let's get with the first one. So, favorite line, Rise of Skywalker, Mike.
I don't know, because I was thinking of this when I looked over the show notes there, and I'm like, I can't think of anything that kind of jumps out at me. Maybe when he grabs the lightsaber, Jedi weapon, whatever. I can't paraphrasing here. I can't remember off the top of my head. Treat a Jedi as weapon better than that, or whatever he says. Probably that. For some reason, it just stood out because Luke, was there. He caught it and all that stuff.
Yeah. So more about the moment necessarily.
Yeah, I think kind of that whole thing. But for overall, I can't think of anything really that kind of jumps out at me. At least in the Rise of Skywalker. It's funny because I can think of things in the Last Jedi, which is a movie I'm not a fan of too much. But I can think of lines in that I like, even though I don't like the movie. There were some elements of it that I did like, and The Force Awakens. But with this, I mean, I've only seen it 3 times, so nothing really jumped out at me for some strange reason. I don't know. What about you? You gotta have a moment.
Oh yeah, I guess I do. And here's my little disclaimer. First off, I would say the writing in The Last Jedi exceeds the writing in The Rise of Skywalker by and large, because you're right. I can think of a number of lines that were very deep and meaningful that could have gone multiple ways, right? Had multiple context behind them. And
I think this was all action.
Yeah, and so this one was just seemed very light. It was kind of on the surface for the most part. That said, I think my favorite line is "ouch." No, I'm kidding. My favorite line
actually, you know what?
Is that yours? You're going for that one, aren't you?
Yeah, that I do like. That was a good point. I don't know why, because we saw Ben there, and
it was a lighter moment.
I mean, granted, it was his only line, really. But I don't know. It was one of those goofy Star Wars moments. I'll give JJ credit on that one particular. I know other people hate it or whatever, and I totally understand why you would. But so
I liked. But anyway, I liked Luke's line of confronting fear as the destiny of the Jedi.
Oh destiny. Yeah, that's true.
I liked 3PO's where he made that comment about if he doesn't make it back, I want you to know that you've been a real friend, aren't you? My best friend, in fact. It's a very they kind of gloss over it really quickly, but that's kind of meaningful given if you take it in the context of the whole saga. I like Leia's line, "Rey, never be afraid of who you are." That plays up right later on in the movie, so there was that had a little bit more emotional weight there. I did take your hand, Ben's hand. That was a good one. I think my favorite line is "Kylo Ren is dead, my son is alive." Because for me, that whole scene is the moment, and some of the best dialogue, if not the best dialogue of the Rise of Skywalker, comes from that particular scene between Ben and Han Solo. So there's probably a lot of good stuff in there, but those are the ones that stood out to me. But the last one's probably my favorite, next to "ouch." All right.
Bonus points. Do we get? I think I'm gonna go with "I am a Jedi like my father before me."
I like that one.
Probably go with that one because that was the ultimate blank you to the Emperor. I'll go with that. You? How about you, sir?
I can't answer this question right now.
You're gonna defer?
I'll have to defer. Right. I'll have to come back and think about it. There's just so many. Like there.
Oh, I know.
Like my instinct is to go to Empire Strikes Back because that's my favorite
with Yoda. Yeah, Yoda and Luke and
sure. I mean, take your pick. Right? There's so many good lines in there. You know. But then at the same time, I think back to like even the prequel trilogies. There's some great stuff in there. Even though that wasn't some of the best dialogue written, there was still some moments. So
how about hello there? We could go with that. All right.
You got the next question here. What is it?
Let's see. It's from Ron. What stories would you like to see brought to TV or film after the Rise of Skywalker in the timeline? So anything after the Rise of Skywalker, right? What would you like to see on TV or in film in that timeline? What do you got?
I am going to say, all right. So anything that would have Rey and going through the process of rebuilding the Jedi Order, and what does she even call it? The Jedi Order? Even does she consider herself a Jedi? I guess she does now. But how she decides who's going to come in, what does she teach, what does she not teach? Because she's got elements of both dark and light in her, right? So is that really what she's prescribing as this new leader of the Jedi Order, or is she going to play it safe and only allow certain people to come in and do part? I mean, then you've got Finn, right? And having him coming in as well and being part of that initial group of students. And that's all interesting to me. I'd like to know, I want to see like who the antagonists would be in this new film or TV after all of this is over. Maybe it's the Grisk. Maybe it's Thrawn. Maybe he comes back and he becomes that person. But anyways, those are the stories that I think I'd want to see. And I don't know if they're all in one thing or these are multiple things going on, but those are some of the open-ended questions I think, or the open questions that I've got after the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, I don't know, because I'm very interested in this timeline. I said that a few times in the last couple of weeks with the last couple of episodes. I'm curious about this, but I'm also curious between Return of the Jedi and the sequel trilogy. So those are two timelines I would like to jump into. But I would have to say maybe Finn and Poe get the buddy cop movie, although I doubt that'll ever happen now with John kind of throwing grenades,
burning bridges, whatever, man.
Yeah. But then again, money talks and voices get quiet. I don't know. I think that would be cool. I don't know about the rebuilding of the Jedi, but like you said, who's out there next? It's because evil's always gonna be around, right? Yep. And Rey is the powerful light, so there's got to be darkness to meet her, so to speak. So I'm curious where that would go, or are we just gonna leave it as is and just never explore that? I don't know. Of course, her lightsaber. I'd like to know all about that. I'd like to see it in action if we could. There's so many jumping points that could go with this. So, and even after, like, what is the galaxy like now? What's the government? Is it a new republic? What is it? What do we got going on here? So to speak. So that's kind of, I guess, where I'd like anywhere you could go for me.
Yeah, there are a lot of stories here. Because we're in a rebuilding phase all over again, much like we were after. To be honest, much like we were after Revenge of the Sith, and then after Return of the Jedi. So. There's a lot of unanswered questions, I think. All of it's good, but we get any of it in our lifetimes? Probably not.
Maybe near the end.
Near the end of us?
Yeah.
Okay. So like in 5 more years?
That's a downer.
Next one, JW. What are your thoughts on Ochi in general? Do you think he was the first to try to bring Rey to Palpatine, or maybe trying to bait Luke to Palpatine? Seems like there's a lot of interesting possibilities with Ochi.
Well, Ochi, I don't know. In the movie, it's kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. But, it does set up for some backstory in a comic or something with Palpatine and Ochi here. It's interesting he mentions maybe bringing Luke to Palpatine there because, you hear Snoke say, when he's supposedly Palpatine, I guess, he says, if I had Luke by my side in the comic, right? He says that. So that's curious that he's, maybe even after death, he was, or whatever happened to him, he was even saying, well, Luke's powerful. Maybe I can find a way to bring him over to me somehow. there are a lot of possibilities. I assume we'll get some of this stuff in a comic, or maybe I hope a novel with Palpatine. Like, I think we need a new Palpatine novel or something, right?
Yeah.
I think that's where we need to go, because there's so much to cover now and flesh out that I don't think maybe a comic to tease it, right? But I don't think we need a novel to really dig our teeth into. I don't know. What about you? Well, what do you think of Ochi?
So do you know where he used to like to take walks? Ochi?
Palpatine?
No, Ochi.
Ochi?
Yeah, on the Ochi-Men Trail.
Where? Oh, Jesus.
Hey, no, listen, seriously. That's the dad jokes all day long.
Yeah.
So he's in a treat.
I knew I shouldn't have even entertained it. Like, I fell for your trap like an idiot. But, you know.
Good one. Thank you, folks. I'll be here all week.
No. Yeah. This is a disaster of a show. All right. So, continue, sir.
Seriousness. I think he's an intriguing character for sure because of where he was. And I got the sense that, I don't know, maybe he got wrapped up in this whole Rey and Palpatine thing because of his own doing. Because I don't know that, I have an open-ended question about how, and this is after reading the visual dictionary too, how he got wrapped up in this whole Palpatine and Rey thing. They don't really explain it. They just got to assume that's going to happen. But I saw it more of like, I know from the visual dictionary, he is kind of a fine collector of rarities and oddities, right? So he's basically an archaeologist sort of character. And so I got this whole vibe of like, and I'm making this up in my head. This is my headcanon here at this point, but you've got like Luke, who's on his quest looking for ancient Sith and Jedi artifacts. You've got Ochi doing the same thing. I saw a parallel here between like Indiana Jones and Belloc, right, from Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they're constantly in competition with one another. And somehow
well, don't forget the kid there. That's the Force Collector kid.
Yeah,
there.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, you got him. And then don't forget the Doctor
Afra.
She's around.
Everybody's doing it, right?
But
I'm wondering if that's how this all kind of came about, where he got wrapped into all of this, and unfortunately doesn't make it out because we know he, bit the dust a little bit later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if that's the case, and maybe it's one of these things where Ochi was always kind of one step ahead of Luke, even with as powerful and as a Jedi as he was, this character of Ochi was able to kind of stay one step ahead of him. Maybe that was what Emperor Palpatine saw in him and thought, okay, here's somebody I can use to kind of stay in front of Luke and yet, bring me my daughter so that he could do granddaughter, so he can do all those nefarious activities or whatever. But anyways, I don't know. There's not a whole lot about it. Even if, like I said, if you read the visual dictionary, it does have some details in there. It goes into his ship and talks about what he did and how he went about and all that, but really nothing that specifically relates to what happens in the Rise of Skywalker. So to your point, I think there's a lot here that's unexplained, and that's probably a good thing because there probably is some good material here for a comic book or a book or maybe a TV series, but probably not.
Yes.
Likely the first two.
I doubt that. Yeah. All right. For Malice, we got the final battle on Exegol was between the Rebellion and the First Order. The First Order assumingly was not present, although I think they were. Do you think the First Order or an evolution of them will be in the following trilogy, or do you think they were defeated in the Rise of Skywalker? I assume they were there. I know their big ship was there, so I'm going to assume they were defeated at Exegol. I don't know. What say you, sir?
My guess is we'll have something similar to what we got after Jedi, where you've got these Imperial loyalists still around. And how big they are after the Rise of Skywalker really depends on how much time, passes. And then going back to my Thrawn trilogy theory earlier,
Well, you got to assume Palpatine's planned for everything, right? So he's got even another fleet somewhere else, right?
Who knows, right? He's probably got contingencies upon contingencies. But yeah, I mean, I could see where someone like Thrawn maybe comes back and he pulls all of the remaining First Order, all of the remaining Final Order, all the remaining Imperial folks that are still lingering out there, and maybe he has his own Chiss army and navies and brings all that together and creates this new kind of army or Imperial or Navy, whatever force. Yeah. Kind of, maybe that's how we get the new antagonist in the sequel trilogy.
Probably.
I don't know. I'm just making this.
Is that what they could call that?
No,
sequel?
They're not going to call it that.
What would they call it?
Well, it's no longer. Well, we're done. It's a new trilogy.
So
okay.
It's
the NTs.
But okay. All right. Just asking.
All right. Next question is from still with our Patreon here. Thank you for Malice. Fan Solo says Luke's green lightsaber. Where is it?
It's in my case right over here. I got it right in my case. Version 2.
Next question
from Master Replica. Sorry.
So he wants to know where Luke's green saber is. I think we see it briefly in the flashbacks during The Last Jedi, but nowhere else.
Yeah, we do. In the flashback in The Last Jedi in Rise of Skywalker with Leia.
Yep.
Sorry.
I would have preferred the green saber hilt to represent Luke in on the burial in Tatooine. So this is at the very end. He would have preferred it to bury that one. Anakin's saber should stay with Rey since that is the first thing that called to her, and she basically rebuilt the thing before the Rise of Skywalker. So the question is, where is Luke's green lightsaber?
It's on Arc 2, isn't it? I believe. Didn't they fold it up and put it with his stuff there? I believe. I'm not sure where it was, but I believe that's what they did.
Was that from the novel?
I think it was in the novel. I want to say it was the novel.
Oh, heck, I don't remember
of
that
The
now,
Last Jedi.
if that's the case.
I believe it is.
Good. Kudo points to you.
Sure. Hey,
or
thanks.
you need to keep drinking more.
Yeah, well, I am going old school with the Yingling here. But, I think that's what happened.
Yeah.
I'm going with that. We'll go with that.
I got questions. I don't know where his lightsaber is. I do have questions about, I guess, that scene at the very end where Rey buries it. I kind of saw that as her paying respects to the legacy of the saber, because she buries Leia's, saber, and that's pretty new. She only had it for like a week or whatever, maybe a year. Didn't she say she used it? I could have sworn that they said that she used it up until Ben was born, and then she stopped. I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I thought you meant Rey.
Oh no. So Leia.
Leia had it. Yeah, Leia had it for till Ben was.
But even still, she didn't have it very long, right?
No.
But given that she was on Tatooine, where both Luke and Anakin were born, and Leia was obviously there. Not she wasn't there, but that's part of her family lineage there. And given how much that lightsaber went through, the Anakin lightsaber, I think she felt like that. Its time is up. And let's put this thing to rest. It's seen enough. No one else should kind of have it at this point. But I don't know. Maybe she spoke to Luke about it, and Luke said, do something with the green lightsaber. Give that to Finn, or until he can construct one on his own or something. We don't know what happened there, but maybe that's the reason why she didn't bury the green as opposed to the blue. Maybe she's got the green. Maybe she's got the kyber crystal in her new lightsaber. We'll never know.
That's a possibility. I don't know. That's interesting. Well, we always had the theory that Luke's green saber was actually from Qui-Gon's crystal. Yeah. So I always liked that. But
isn't the new technology? Didn't they update that where now it's two crystals instead of one?
It's possible.
I'm pretty sure they did. It used to be only one crystal, and then it was after The Last Jedi, I think. And I have to go pull my visual dictionary. I think it's in there, but there's two crystals now. And I don't forget. Sorry, I haven't looked at that stuff in a while, but I think there was one that was like powers it, and the other one was like a honing crystal or something weird. I don't know what it was, but it was multiple crystals. So that's why I was saying she could still have a yellow bladed lightsaber, but maybe Luke's green one is in there powering it, because their kyber is not really around, right? I mean, the as far as we know,
they
Sidious
got rid of most of it
before we even got to, and then whatever was left was completely taken over by Kylo Ren and the First Order.
Yeah.
So they are rare and hard to find.
Yes. All right. So this is RotoCod 82. I think I said that right. Oh, Rotcod. There we go. That makes more sense. What happened to Luke's students that didn't die? And don't say go with the Knights of Ren. They didn't go. So Kylo Ren, I guess it's in the comic, right? Where he confronts some of Luke's students.
What? Maybe. So here's the thing. The idea that Ben took some of those students with him, I think was a theory that came up from like way back from The Force Awakens, to be honest.
Well, Luke suggests it in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
He says it. But he was also unconscious in a hut. So
so here's the thing. I don't know, one way or the other. It's very possible it's gonna happen. The comic book is out right now. I think we're 2 issues in, and it's like a slow bleed. We get 1 issue like every month, which is terrible. It's a horrible release plan. I don't understand that at all. But As of right now, they've not really done much with that. So, so whatever happened to them, I don't know. I don't think they're going to make it out. You know?
Yeah, well, in the comic, they're floating around in space, are they not?
Well, those are students. Yeah, there are some students that are actually chasing Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren does not kill them. He does everything to keep them alive, but still keep them from following him when he retreats and takes off to go see Mr. Snoke, because he's running from his life and doesn't feel like anybody loves him and cares for him and all that stuff, right? But those students are still chasing him. They're trying to track him down. But I think the question here is, are there students that converted that went with him, right, and became part of his group, or at least supported him in some way? What became of those students? I don't think they become the Knights of Ren. I don't know. We'll have to see what the comic book does. If they don't, then I don't think they make it out alive. Otherwise, they would be a problem, and we'd have a lot of open questions about, well, where the heck were they during, The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi and so forth, so forth. So,
well, people wonder where Ahsoka was, if she's still alive, Dave.
I mean, again, and that's a good point, because I'm not saying there can't be a story there. There's definitely can. There's always
there could be, yeah.
But
yeah,
we're kind of...
You can make one.
I can make one right now.
No, I'm sure you could.
Okay, thank you. Tflu44, was this the most excited you were for Star Wars movie release?
Nope.
No? All right, so here's a follow-up question, though. So what was the most exciting for you?
The Force Awakens, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, because we did the podcast. It was all, we're all geared up because this is the sequel trilogy. It was Luke, Leia, Han. They were coming back. I mean, that was just a crazy, crazy time. It was awesome. So, yeah, Force Awakens, definitely.
So I have well, no. I've got Force Awakens in my top 4, but it's number 3.
Oh, really?
So the most excited I've ever been for a Star Wars release has to be Episode 1 in '99.
Well, that was my number 2.
And I've talked about this in the show, and I think I've talked about it on The Basement and some other shows that I've done guest spots on. But for me, nothing was going to beat that excitement, because one, we'd waited for so long for new Star Wars, and part 2, like my second place is the special editions, but I'll come back to that in just one second. We had waited for so long for new Star Wars content that when that came out, there was a whole process that we had to go through, right? And that process was, we had to camp out. And if you didn't, then you'll probably think I'm crazy for saying all this, but we had to camp out just to buy the stinking tickets. So there was people out there. We were barbecuing. We had tents. The news was coming by. People were laughing at us, driving by, honking horns, nerds, that whole thing. It was an experience just to buy the freaking tickets. Then when you bought your tickets, like I said, there were no assigned seatings. This is before that even was a thought or any kind of a consideration. So after you bought the tickets, then you had to wait for the movie, obviously, to come out. And so you went back and camped out again to ensure that you had decent seats, right? So in that whole experience of meeting those people and bonding with those people, waiting to buy the tickets and then coming back a couple months later, standing in line for days and doing shifts and everything else so that you didn't lose your spot. That whole experience for me just kind of drove a lot of the excitement, right? It was a frenzy, really, more than anything. So for me, 99 was the big one. Special edition, though, was a close second because it was very similar.
Oh, that's true.
Because we really didn't have it wasn't new Star Wars, but there was new Star Wars that we had never seen before.
Yeah.
And that whole process of waiting in line and buying tickets and all that, very similar, not to the level of 99, but it was pretty similar. And then I had The Force Awakens as a third, and then Return of the Jedi was my fourth. Because I thought that was it. Like, from what I understood, we were never going to see any more Star Wars after that. Lucas was done packing up. Sorry, folks, no more.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was all pretty exciting.
Yes. All right.
Good question.
BC's got a question for us, Albert. Now that the Skywalker saga is over, do you all think
what's wrong
we
with
will
that?
see a standalone? I don't know.
That's what we say
tried. No, I know. But I'm a East Coast guy trying to say it, and it's just not working. Do you think we'll see standalone movies in the Skywalker timeline, or will we all new movies outside the timeline? I think we will. I mean, technically we have, right? I mean, Solo already was kind of in the Skywalker timeline, right? Rogue One. So, yeah, I would say, and even The Mandalorian, technically, Obi-Wan, the TV show would be, right? If that ever happens, we'll see. I don't know. What do you think,
Yeah,
sir?
I mean, outside of what's already been announced and done, I don't know that my guess is we're going to see new timelines. I think that there's a part of Disney and maybe even Lucasfilm that truly want to separate from the saga, and I completely understand why. So long as they play in that space, they're always going to be boxed in on what they can do, what they can't do to some extent. And if they walk away from all of that, then it just gives them a lot more freedom to kind of tell whatever Star Wars stories they want to tell. The trick's going to be whether they can truly detach themselves enough and yet come across as or I guess what I'm saying, the trick is going to be, can they detach themselves enough but not come across as a un-Star Wars or non-Star Wars feeling or unfamiliar kind of a show, right? I mean, I think there's a fine line there. You can go ahead and have a liberty to kind of do your own Star Wars thing, but you're still going to be grounded in what we think and know Star Wars to be. And that is, I think, going to be determined in terms of whether or not they can do it. And I think that's why that think tank that's heading up the Project Luminous thing, I think that's why they were formed. I think they had a mission that said, how can we make Star Wars content while simultaneously being Star Wars, but not being Star Wars, if that makes sense. I think that's their whole mission. I think that's why they put all those guys together and said, figure this out. We've got to be able to we got to find a way to tell new stories, but not feel like we're still completely attached at the hip to what came before and what's worked before. We've got to evolve and we've got to become different, but still be Star Wars. I think it's a very challenging thing, but I think that's where that Project Luminous has come from.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. Thank you, BC White. Thank y'all. Casey Hilsey, in light of what we know from the Rise of Skywalker, how should we interpret Rey's vision in The Last Jedi? So to set another way, the way I interpreted this was, now that we've seen the Rise of Skywalker, has your opinion changed, or is anything different for you about the vision on the Rey's vision in The Last Jedi?
No, still the same confusing mess that it was before. So that doesn't change for me. Other than, I don't know. This is something I would have to go back on and look, like when I rewatch the sequel trilogy again and kind of, I guess, digest it even more than what I have. But to put it all in sequential order, like kind of boom, 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 and then kind of say, all right, okay, and kind of digest it a little bit more. But as of right now, it's kind of, it's cloudy to say the least. It's like the mirror in front of Rey where her parents were coming towards her, and then it's cloudy and you couldn't tell, and then it's just me. I don't know, or her. So I don't know. What about you? Is anything?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the hang up is the 42 years of the Skywalker saga, and then we just switch this to this Palpatine thing that I have an issue with. But
yeah, it's hard to say what all this means, because ideally we'd be able to go back and see what happened in the Rise of Skywalker. That would kind of give us a final beat, if you will, on what that scene was all about. However, given that the story direction was left to two people who were able to kind of opt in on what they wanted to pick up, what they wanted to drop, what they wanted to expand upon, that really was, that was what they got to do. And so I don't know that we'll ever really know. So I guess what I'm saying is, you would think if there was one kind of cohesive story, then whatever we saw in The Rise of Skywalker should play in and help explain The Last Jedi. And I don't think that's what happened. But nonetheless, for the sake of argument, let's assume that the cave scene was a lateral between Johnson and Abrams. And based on what we know from The Rise of Skywalker, then I would say that maybe she was seen when she was in The Last Jedi, when she saw all those people, that was really her afraid of what she was, most afraid of, which was basically her own reflection, and that being Palpatine and all the Sith. And those were, supposed to represent all the Sith. And the person in the ice that comes out, or that's behind the glass or ice or whatever that is, maybe that was Ben Solo and not Kylo Ren, because he was there to save her and free her, from that fear, which is kind of how it played out in The Rise of Skywalker. But I don't know. It's just really hard to say. This is the part that's frustrating.
True. All right. And I don't know if I'm going to say this right. Is it Utah for maybe not for long. I think I got that right. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know. He can yell at me for messing that up. But in any case, this spawned from him listening to the Rise of Ben episode that we did a few weeks ago. Does the galaxy as a larger community know that Kylo Ren is actually Ben Solo? Only a select few knew Darth Vader was actually Anakin Skywalker. The larger galaxy was told that the tale of Anakin had died. Would that perspective have given a better chance for Ben Solo to have a redemption with the survivors of the Rise of Skywalker? I would say no, because it's just like Anakin. You did all these bad things. You did some good things in the past, but you went bad, and we can't forgive you for that. Yeah, you're redeemed in the eyes of the Force and maybe your family and some people, but overall, as a whole, I don't think they could give you a free pass. That's kind of where I stand on the whole thing. But I don't know. What do you think?
Well, so there's a couple questions here. The first one, does the galaxy as a larger community know that Kylo Ren is actually Ben Solo? So I think initially,
I would say
he was wearing the mask as Kylo to kind of hide his identity and declare himself kind of like this new persona altogether.
Yeah, that's true.
But maybe we'll get more on this in the already mentioned, the Ben Solo comic. But honestly, I don't think the galaxy cared much in the sense that you probably have everyone and their mothers kind of sick of the Skywalker males and their quest for power and dominance in the galaxy. I don't think they really. But so anyone who knew probably figured they shouldn't expect anything less than what they got from that disease of a family, and those who didn't know probably wanted this guy out of power, to be honest, to get rid of this and gut him. But in terms of and I think you're right. So redemption and forgiveness are not mutually exclusive, right? One is not predicated upon the other. I would agree 100% there. So even if he was redeemed and would have survived, the uphill battle for somebody like a Ben Solo to be seen as anything more than a mass murderer and a monster or whatever, I mean, it would have been tremendous. And and probably like a nearly insurmountable task for him to kind of overcome that. I think it's just going to be, it's a scarlet letter. It's going to be a stain on his whole life, whatever that looked like had he, survived.
Yeah.
And it's certainly not something we would have expected him to do on his own. He would have had, help, and there would have been somebody like Rey there to kind of help. Yeah, talk him up.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
Help him all that. But it doesn't change anything.
Yeah,
he's still got
to.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
He still has that to bear for years and years to come before this idea of forgiveness by the general public or anybody else could even be earned back, if ever.
Or even history. History wasn't even going to look at him kindly. I mean, all right, you did these things prior, but then you went this way, and that bad is going to outweigh that good, I guess you could say, because it's so horrendous, right? So
yeah, I mean, it would have to be a level of good that I don't know that you could quantify. So,
well, the only way you could do that is the way he did, is a sacrifice. That's the only way you can get that. I think. You know what I mean? Like, but
you still have people go, well, good. He deserved to die.
Of course.
I mean,
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. You'll still. Yeah, of course.
So, yeah. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah. Okay.
Star-Lord, thanks, Uthal. Star-Lord 07, what happened to Luke's lightsaber, and why do people keep referring to Anakin's as Rey's or Luke's? So similar to the question we had earlier. But why do we keep calling it?
Well,
why do we call Anakin's Rey's or Luke's?
Well, we'd called it a few years back. We called it the Skywalker saber because that's kind of what it was and hinting at. But now it's, I guess you could still say it's that, right? Because she buried it in the sand. She didn't take it with her. So, I mean, she borrowed it. So, I guess you could look at it that way. But it's always been Anakin's. Yeah. Of course, Luke had it. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But what happened to it? Well, it depends on which one Anakin's saber. Well, we saw it get buried in the sand.
No,
right?
I think he's talking about Luke.
He's.
Yeah, what happened to Luke's green lightsaber? So we kind of talked about it.
It's in the hut where Leia's saber was. They just forgot about that one. They grabbed Leia. They grabbed Leia's and not Luke's, and which is why I think the confusion's there, right? Because everyone's like, "Well, where's Luke's saber?" We grabbed Leia's, and we have Anakin's. She could have had 3 lightsabers.
She could have
Maybe she did take it. We just
could have been
we didn't
Grievous.
see it.
It's got
That's true.
Got a whole bunch of them.
We could have had
from
that.
her inside her.
That would have been awesome.
No, seriously.
And then that would be cool. And you could hear Obi-Wan in the background. Hello there.
Oh man. Let's see. So as for
Okay.
Anakin's saber, I think in my own head, I never thought the Jedi were like super possessive of their sabers. That always seemed kind of taboo to me. Again, this is my own head. Not so much that they were technically attachments, or it just didn't seem like they were that possessive of it. I mean, even I guess I don't know. I'm kind of talking this out now. Kenobi was telling Anakin that lightsaber was his life, but honestly, I just the way whose lightsaber was whose, and it just didn't seem like it was handled with a whole lot of consistency for me. Like in The Force Awakens, I felt like we all, were asked to get comfortable with the idea that the saber called to Rey, right? And because of that, it was hers and not Anakin's. I actually had a hard time getting past that when The Force Awakens came out, but I got past it. I'm like, okay, fine. So be it. This is now her lightsaber. And then this all seemed pretty kosher until The Rise of Skywalker comes out, when suddenly she tells Leia, someday I'll earn the saber, your brother's saber. And it's like, what? Wait, why? What happened?
You've been wielding it for 2 movies, and now
it's only been
about
a year. But no, you're
yeah.
And then a bit related, I think Kylo Ren declared that when he says that saber belongs to me, right? That he said that was his lightsaber before he ended up fighting Poe. So I don't think dark side users or Sith were above claiming things like this, but I just didn't see the Jedi ever as being attached to sabers as much.
Well, Luke wasn't in The Last Jedi, but
I'll say this: if you ask Luke Skywalker whose lightsaber that is, he's going to say my father's. If you ask Rey, she's going to say what? Luke's. Probably. If you ask Kylo Ren, he's going to say mine.
Right.
If you ask Finn or Poe, it's Rey's. Yeah. So I don't know. There you go.
All right. Fist of Fury.
Good night, folks. We're going to end right there. Well, that's on a no. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Fist of Fury. Good.
Well, we should. My dog's barking in the background because he wants to come out.
Well, we're almost done with
anyway.
the Patreon, and we're almost coming up on an hour. So
yes. Well, Fisto Fury, not to be confused with the Masters of the Universe Fisto.
Yeah, totally different.
Thank God. What is your take on the Force dyad between Rey and Kylo? They kind of set it up in The Force Awakens. I feel a 2-line during Rey's interrogation. But did you like it as an overall plot point? No, I did not. Do you think Kylo wasn't in the final scene on Tatooine because the dyad he remains part of Rey? I think it was because JJ didn't want him in the film at that point. I don't know really, to be honest, but I was intrigued by the dyad, but I thought it was just, I don't know. It felt kind of sloppy how they handled it, maybe. I don't know. Albert, what do you think? Was it good, bad, indifferent? What do you think?
I don't have any issues with it. I
got kind of indifferent on it myself, but I don't know.
I mean, I liked it. It reminded me, and I don't get mad, but it did remind me of like the son and daughter.
I will. Well, yeah, of course.
So, I mean, it wasn't unfamiliar to me, right? This idea that there's these powerful beings that can do these things like that. So I don't know if that's where they were leaning, if that's where they got the idea, or where they got the inspiration for ultimately for Rey and Kylo to kind of be this dyad, because I don't think that was the original intent. Maybe it was. Who knows? We'll find out later. But no, I didn't really have a problem with it, and it didn't seem unfamiliar to me. It certainly did feel familiar. Do you think Kylo wasn't in the final scene on Tatooine because as a dyad, he remains a part of Rey? That's an interesting idea. I like it. I don't think that's the reason why.
A bit of a theory at the end here. One of the questions, but go ahead.
I think did we skip over that?
No, we didn't. That's near the end here.
But yeah, no,
Rey.
I don't know if that was a reason why. I think at that point, I don't think they were really thinking dyad anymore. I think they were thinking Ben Solo's dead, Skywalkers are over, and let's just wrap this sucker up, kind of thing. But that's not to say they can't pick that up and expand upon it later if we ever get anything beyond that, or maybe it comes out in novelization. I mean, we're putting this novelization is not going to live up to the hype.
Oh no, because we got so
much more to get from the novel that I don't think it's going to live up to it. But
they delayed it, right? And we have all these unanswered questions that normally a novel like that could help out or clue us in, right? Because we discussed that with The Last Jedi, right? There were chapters in there where like, oh, that would have helped the movie at the time when we were discussing it, or at least for me anyway. And now we have all these. You're right. I don't think it's going to live up to. I got to set the bar low, just so I don't get disappointed.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thank you, Fisto. Next up, Cab, still with Patreon. Something I've been thinking about for the last few days is how oftentimes as fans are our own worst enemies. Yeah, that's for sure. As we've discussed before, we see characters in early promos and such and start to speculation train at full speed. We then see them in the finished product and are a little disappointed that we didn't get more of them in the same way, shape, or form. But when you zoom out and look at them from a big picture perspective, oftentimes these characters really did have a sufficiently fleshed out character arc and served their purpose. Using a character like Phasma as an example, are there more cases of poorly used characters in the sequel trilogy specifically? So examples, Phasma, Hux, Rose, Knights of Ren, etc. Or did we just get too attached in some way to the characters that truly fulfilled their narrative purpose and we just weren't able to see it?
A little bit of all that. I think like with Phasma and like Hux and all that. Well, Hux started out good.
Yeah.
It just didn't work out that way in the end there. But he served his purpose. When you look at it, like he says, when you zoom out, same with Phasma. She served her purpose as well. Rose, yeah, same thing. But the problem, I think, with the sequel trilogy is they had too many characters and we had to focus on the main characters, and all these other interesting characters on the side suffered for it. You know, like you could have got something more with Rose, Hux. You had something with Hux. Hux was probably the one that, probably not the best example because he did start out prominent and it just didn't end that way. Phasma is kind of like Rose in the sense, and the Knights of Ren, they were their ancillary characters. They moved the plot forward and there was a purpose there. And once they were used to that purpose, they had to go, so to speak. Now, they're cool characters, and Phasma got a book, so, you know, Rose, I think she was in a novel, or there was something there, right? I think.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll get more as well as you go forward. So those characters, as it stinks that they didn't get more depth, so to speak, in the movie there. They were interesting enough where something can happen outside of the movie and maybe we'll get more depth to them. But I think we do jump on the whole speculation thing, and then kind of one of the bigger issues is we attach ourselves to characters and we project ourselves on them, and then we get very disappointed when they're not living up to what we would do because we think it's us, and that's not the case. So don't get too attached with characters. And I know it's easier said than done. I was attached to Luke, and I was very disappointed, but I got through it. You can too. And even like movies in the end, you can't, it's not real life. It's just a tool to teach you things and kind of make you think. But other than that, I don't know. What say you, Albert?
No, I love this. That was all good stuff, man. Wow. The lighter side of Mike Rondo.
Well, look at that. It's
the
bear,
softer side.
Me.
So I love this question. And again, for me, it goes back to how these stories and characters were kind of just stitched together from two different visions. And unfortunately, I feel like some of these characters and some of the story beats were just collateral damage from that decision, right or wrong. I think they just were. And to your point, there were a lot of them. And we couldn't have a 2.5 hour movie and really get everything from everyone, given how many characters there were. So that's why people like, I can't even believe I'm going to say this, but people like Maz, right? I mean, she, if you didn't know any better, you would have thought she would have had a more dominant role or predominant role in, 8 and 9.
Yeah.
And she quite frankly did not. Snoke is another one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, got to go because someone decided he needed to go. And so we didn't get a whole lot there. Hux, like you mentioned him. I'll throw Ray's parents in there, right? That was
we didn't. We got a clip. That was it.
So I mean, I think you're right. It's a lot of these things. I think when we take a step back and look at from a 30,000 foot view, it probably does all make sense. Does it make us feel any better about it, especially if we've connected to those characters or we wanted more or something? No, heck no, it does not. But like you said, headcanon is really hard to deal with. It can drive some people from the franchise altogether when things do not go the way they want them to go. That's the reality.
Sure.
Okay, we got a few more minutes. We got about 3. Let's do like a quick lightning round, try to get some of these in.
Okay.
You cool with that?
What do we? Where we going?
I'll ask you these questions here. Why Alaron? Why bring in yet another ancient Sith world instead of Korriban or another established planet? Yeah, why?
Or Malachor?
Never heard of it.
I mean, they could have went. Morban.
No, I'm just making a joke. But go on.
No, Malachor. Malachor's the other one. Yeah. I don't know why. To be honest, I don't know why they did this. It's like, I don't know. George changed the name of the home planet too, right? Like, so I wish they kept it, but it is what it is. I don't know why they got to change things around. It would have been nice if they went to Morban or Korriban or even Malachor. Like something like that would have been cool. Exegol, as cool as it was, I don't know. But
for me, it's a clean slate. If they pick one of the other ones, it makes us happy. But then they have to figure out, okay, now what do we have? What can we not step in? And so this is a easy, clean way. Cheap. I don't say cop out, but it is. It's a way for them to kind of have a clean slate and do whatever do whatever they want to do, say what they want to say, image whatever they want to image about the planet. Because I mean, what happened to Tython? Why do we have to have Octu?
Well, yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's that when Last Jedi came out, I'm like, wait, I thought all this started on Tython. What's going on? Oh, no, different planet. Oh, yeah. Okay. Anyways, Obi-Jon, would you have preferred to see the Force ghosts of Jedi and Sith instead of hearing their voices? This is at the very end.
Well, in the Mike Rondo cut, as we've discussed.
Oh, yeah, that is out there, by the way.
You do get all the Jedi and then some. The Sith, no, I don't want the Sith involved because they're not supposed to retain their spirit like that. I don't like them doing that. And that's me being a George Lucas apologist there. But yeah, exactly. I do not want that at all. That doesn't mean you can't have like Sith there somehow, meddling with things. I just don't want them to be like the Jedi there. But I don't know. What do you say, sir?
Yeah, I would have, I guess, I don't know. I would have liked to see it. But I think it would have confused the heck out of the general audience. And I'm not taking anything away from anybody, but suddenly you got all these people popping up. They're going to be like, who the heck is that? Who's that? Why? I mean, it could have been confusing.
Yeah, you say that, but I don't think so. I don't think the audience is dumb as we think.
No, I know. I will give them credit. I think they could have done it so they could have put 2 and 2 together. I don't know. Was it necessary? No. I think it would have the same effect. It just
maybe.
So, there was so much about the Rise of Skywalker, and we've not even talked about this. I've got so many things I like about it and so many things I do not like about it. But one of the things I did not like about the Rise of Skywalker is we were hand-fed way too much stuff. Like, they would say something and then show it to you. Say something and then show it to you. And from a storytelling perspective, it just drives me nuts. We're not that dumb.
Yeah, but they also would say something and not show you, like, or suggest or come up with something and say, like, oh, Palpatine's alive, and then give you some nonsense of, it's Sith magic or this, that, or the other. Right, so, so it was kind of it was all over.
All right. Next question for you. Is Rey pregnant? This is from Mark Angel. What's the possibility that when Ben transferred life to Rey, that they actually created a life?
It's a possibility. I mean, I did say a few years ago that Rey was to destroy the Skywalkers and then maybe the final scene would be her pregnant, looking into the sunset there. So technically, if you wanted to bring it back, yeah, you could kind of do that. I don't know if they'll do that, but I don't know if I like it.
It would help.
It's a cop out in a way.
It would help me rationalize some of the things in my head. Is it a story that I'll see in my lifetime? No,
maybe.
I don't think so. Maybe. I mean, probably not for reasons we've talked about here tonight.
Yeah.
But I mean, you had 2 of the strongest Force users from 2 of the strongest lines of Force users with feelings for one another, doing Force stuff. Neither was really sure about what they were doing. So I don't know. Could she have gotten pregnant? I don't know, maybe. Who knows? Maybe. Weirder things have happened in Star Wars. Let's just leave it at that.
It is Star Wars. I mean, they've killed off a bunch of dead guys and they brought them back. So this is possible. So.
All right. One more question and I'll let you pick. There's still quite a few on here, but.
Well, speaking of dead, with all the questions around whether Ahsoka still lives or she dies, what do you think about Mace Windu, dead or alive? Well, dead because he's a Jedi, and Jedi always die. But like if you're Maul, Boba Fett, Palpatine, you get to come back 700 times. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we get Count Dooku, like the Headless Horseman of Sereno, coming around. Like that would be cool. That would be a good movie. So yeah, I mean, this is the bigger problem we have with this whole thing. And George opened the door with this when he brought Maul back, right? So now most of those dead characters are on the table for coming back, right? Like, if it's, I mean, Dooku's an extreme case. That ain't gonna happen because his head came off. But you know, like Boba Fett, you know, Palpatine apparently. So I don't know. Mace Windu though, he's a Jedi, so he's dead. They don't get to live. Although he's plausible that he could live with that, which would be cool.
People can fall from great heights and survive, right? So
yeah, was he the one catching Luke's lightsaber on Bespin, or was that Ezra? What was it going to be? I don't know. We'll find out.
You talking about from the comic?
Yeah. Which was lame, by the way. But I'll leave it at that.
We'll come back to that at some point. Maybe not with you.
Maybe not with me, right? Yep. Because you know me.
All right. Well, we got to get out of here. We got more questions, and so if we didn't get to yours, apologies. I know there's still some on here. Wait. There's one more question here.
Yeah, he's tired of talking to me. That's what it is.
One final question. Oh, this is from Jonesy. Yeah. Hey, Albert and Mike. Hope you guys are doing well. Here's my question. When am I allowed to come back on the show? I'm kidding.
As soon as possible. Seriously, man. This gig is getting old for me.
I made that up. That's not really Jonesy.
Yeah. No.
Although he probably wants to know when he can come back. When are you going to let him back on the show?
He can come back anytime he wants. I'm ready to leave, man. Go back to just editing.
You and several of our listeners. So
yeah, exactly. I only come on here to annoy those two people that commented on our iTunes thing that didn't like me. So hi to those two.
Yeah, you're saying hi with a finger, by the way. So
no, not me.
All right,
I'm using all of them.
And he says, "Keep up the good work. Love the show." By the way.
Oh yeah, me too.
All right, we did it.
All right, we did.
Hey, 312's coming up. Well, we got, what do we got going on? Podcast Network.
Well, there'll be a new episode of 3/4 to Play this week. So
what are you covering then?
Probably the countercades that I have, or the barcades that I have. I'm going to cover that. I'll give my over thoughts of Generation 1 on those, and that's about it. I know the guys did the 1917 review on Film Appraisers, so check that out as well. And other than that, I don't think we have anything else. I do have a few ideas cooking, but when Jonesy's got to get back, and then you can boom. Then I can pursue those types of things. But we'll see. Anyway,
all right. Next up, 312.
Yes, am I on that one? Or are you booting me up? Oh, thank goodness for everybody,
for everyone. So, 312 is going to be, we are going to do a Raylo episode, and I am bringing Michaela on.
Yeah, it's a good thing I'm not on
Michaela is coming back onto the show. She was with us a few shows back. If you didn't catch that, go listen to that. But she's coming back, and she and I are going to talk through Raylo. We'll get into some Ben Solo, which I can talk about all day. It's going to be a fun show. So, any last predictions for tomorrow? Super Bowl Sunday.
Well, no, because by the time they hear this, it'll already be over.
Well,
so
you can
congratulations,
find out
Kansas City. Congratulations, Kansas City.
Yeah,
or whoever wins. I guess I don't know. I don't really care as long as it's not the Patriots. So.
I'm going for Liverpool.
Really?
All right, and with that,
no, go Gunners. That'll annoy him.
All right, we're out of here. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye. You're still listening? Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property, and all that other good, fun stuff, but I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what, so that's your disclaimer.